So for a while now, you guys will notice how we've been focusing and learning those things that is going to take our approach of playing the bass from the beginner's level down to the pro level, of which learning the bass chords is one of them. So if that sounds like what you want to learn, we're going to be learning how to play bass chords, the importance of bass chords, why you need to have knowledge about bass chords as a bass player. Of course, you know you are not supposed to be playing the full chord and all those stuff when the keyboardist is playing, but you need to understand chords, why you need to understand those chords, those basic shapes that you need to learn, and how you can apply those chords. And I'm excited to tell you that we're going to start it like a series. It's going to be in 6 videos. This is the first video, and this is going to be like the introduction. Please, I would encourage you not to miss any part of this video. And if you're just tuning in, do have to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on each of this series of this video. Now, the most basic and first thing that we need to look at in this video is what are bass chords. Now, unlike guitar players, we bass players will make use of chords, and we make use of chords as chord notes, which is important for you to understand these basic things. Now, what are chords? Chords are basically made up of 3 notes, which is the root note, the third, and the fifth. Instead of strumming the whole chords together like the guitar players, we bass players, we usually play double stops, triads, to use it to create harmonies in between the groove or the music, whichever way that works at the particular time. Now, chords are made up of 3 notes, which is the root note, the third, and the fifth note. Now, what are those notes? Which is your do, which is 1, your third, which is mi, and your fifth, so, right? Now, most of the times when we're playing, we don't play these notes as like this, of which we usually see the guitar players do. We don't do that. We usually play them as chord notes, but most times we have to know and understand how chord works so that we can be able to create harmony in between the music and be able to flow with the rest of the band and the keyboard player. If you understand chord very well and how chord works, it will be easy for you to create chord substitution and create tension in between your play and sound much more rich and fuller as a bass player. So most times as bass player, we play more of double stops. First of all, we play single notes. That's another way you can use the chords, and we play them as double stops. Okay, maybe something like this. I know you must have had stops like this. Double stops are usually 2 notes together. Okay, this is an example of double stops. Or maybe you hear something like this. You usually hear this thing in between the riffs and runs of most of these pro bass players. They do it a lot. That's one of the reasons why you have to learn it, so you can be able to use it to sound much more full. Maybe you hear something like this, even in worship. Maybe I play do and I add my octave note, right, of that same note to make it sound much more fuller. You can literally tell the difference. And then at some point, I might decide to do something like this. Right? Whichever way that works. Now you can see how I was sounding entirely different while I was using the chords to harmonize and make my groove sound much more interesting. These are ways you can actually use the chords. There are a lot of ways you can use it in between your riffs, in between your fills, in between your passing notes to make your play much more rich and full. Even when you're playing single notes, like I already demonstrated, instead of playing just do, I might decide to add or do, whichever way that works for you. Now, in as much as it is important for you to have the knowledge and idea of the bass chords, it's also important for you to know that the job of a bass player is to stick to the groove and hold down the groove while he or she is playing with the band, right? But at the same time, you cannot play well and flow well with the band if you don't understand chords and how these chords works. Because when you start playing chord substitution or you try to start doing some other advanced music, you might discover that you have to know what the keyboardist is playing or what chord is playing to know what notes to strike on your bass. Now we're going to be learning the basic chord structure that every beginner bass player needs to learn to be able to build up their chord knowledge from there, which is the major and the minor chord. Now we have the root note, the third, and the fifth. Now what determines if a chord is a minor or a major chord is the third note of that chord. So we have root note, third, and fifth. So this tells us that this is a major chord. And when we have root note, Flat third, it tells us that this is a minor chord of C, which is the root note. Okay, so we have, you see that? So we have do, mo, so, okay, and it's going to be do, mi, so, do, mi, so, do, mo, so. Can you see the difference? Let me strike it together like a keyboard. And can you see the difference? So from this, you can already tell how different they sounded. Now, let's quickly look at how you can actually practice and position your fingers to strike these chords together, okay? So you can try to still play it as triads, right? Do, mi, so, like this. Do, mi, so, do, mi, so, do, mi, so. I can try to still play them as complete notes, which is going to be like this: pinky finger, ring finger, and then index finger. Do, mi, so. Why am I doing this shape? It is simply because if I try to play it like this, I will not be able to play the whole notes in that chord all the same time. So I have to spread it out in different strings. Okay? Then if I want to play the minor of C, what I need to do is to flatten my third. So it's going to become the same shape, but what I did here was I just switched the finger. Can you see the switch in the fingering? Which is very simple. You can actually practice this and do this. Now, there's another way I like to apply the chords. All you need to do is to understand the notes in that particular chord. If you must have been familiar to something called chord inversions, it's another way of rearranging a particular chord in different shapes to still play the same thing and achieve the same notes, probably changing the tone or maybe how it sounded. So if I have do, mi, so, what I would do is to look for the same note and play them in probably in a different arrangement. So on C, do, mi, so. So I can just play the chord inversion. It's going to be like this. So, do, mi. So in chord inversion, there's also what we call first and second inversion. Okay. First inversion is mi, so, do. And then second inversion is so, do, mi. That's exactly it. So that's what I'm going to do here to play this same note. In a case where I don't have the freedom of accessing this particular shape, what am I going to do? The same sound, right? And then mi, so, do. Can you see that? So I have, and I have, and same time I have. So let me call out how I did that, which is like mi, so, then do. Whichever way is convenient for you, all I have to do is to practice and master the fingering so that you can be able to move around with it. But most times, like I said, we do more of double stops. And if you want to learn more of double stops, it's going to be part of the videos we're going to be covering in this series, okay? If you must have heard me play a lot of times, I do something like this. These are double stops, okay? It's very simple. All you need to do is to learn how to do that, and you can be able to apply. These are not hard things that these pro players do, but it's just that we don't understand the concept and how we can go about it. I encourage you to take our time and practice these chords. You can actually figure out the rest of the chords on your own from what I already showed you in the example, okay? Now this is fa, but I'm playing the chord inversion. So do, mi, so, fa, la, do. So let's assume I want to play like a simple song, but I want to play it in chords. It's another way to actually master these chords. Let's take, for example, okay, I want to play on C. Jehovah, you are the most high. 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 Jehovah, Jehovah. So do you see how I'm playing it in music? It's another fast way to master those chords, so you can be able to master the switch in fingers, okay? Now, it's very important for you to know how these bass players definitely use these bass chords in different genre and different approach at different times, right? Now, like I said, as a bass player, you don't have to come and start dragging who to play the chords with the keyboard player. But let's look at how you can actually use chords to develop ideas for solo and approach to different songs, different genres of music. Okay, like what I did in the beginning, I just did. Now from here, I can literally start building up so many solo ideas, right? Which you can actually do in different genres of music as the case may be. Now you might have a different genre of music where you need to play chords or you need to do some other things, but you need to understand the particular genre, what is required, and what you need to do in that genre to be able to apply this technique there. Like I said, I'm already building solo ideas from here, right? Right? Do you see that? In as much as I was not playing chords throughout, but I was doing, at some point I was doing like double stop, and at some point I'm just using the notes in the chord to create an idea. Do you get? Now here is a simple exercise that you can actually use to master these chords, okay, and the chord shapes. What you need to do is to play them as single notes. First of all, now, did you see how I demonstrated playing all these chords from the neck of the bass down to the bridge? Okay. Then I started playing them as chords, okay? Now you're going to find this a bit stressful to do because you're going to need to stretch your fingers, but with time you're going to learn how to do that, okay? Which is very, very simple. Now the essence of playing these notes as single notes from the beginning of the exercise is so that you can be able to be sure that you're playing the exact note in that chord and be able to help you master where those notes are in the fret. This is a way of also mastering your fretboard along the line you're trying to play the chords, because you're playing different notes from different angles of the frets. You get? So this is just the beginning, guys. In the next video, we're going to be looking at the major and the minor triad. Trust me, you don't want to miss out. So if that is you, hit the subscribe button and turn up your notification bell so that when those video pops up, you're going to get notified. So let me know in the comment section how helpful this video has been to you. Until next time, peace.